Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my 30-day career live stream series. And since today is Monday, I really wanted to talk about the topic of work life balance. So, think about your weekend that you have had so far. And if you are based in Asia right now, you are likely enjoying today as a public holiday because it was Visa's Day over the weekend. And there is a replacement holiday in many Asian countries for today. So today I wanted to talk about work-life balance, and one of the inspirations behind this topic is, as usual, Monday is usually Monday blues. Bad Mondays day is the day that everybody dreads, going back to the office, going back to work, and really diving back into your roles and responsibilities. But the other thing that also inspired this today's live stream topic, it's all about how can you achieve work-life balance by learning to become more efficient and effective at your job. Now, I was actually talking to a client a couple of weeks ago. My client started a new role in a new country, in a new company, and he was extremely excited about the new role. However, just within a couple of weeks of like officially starting at his new job, he started feeling very stressed. And he texted me and said that, hey, Miping, I noticed that I am starting to work longer hours. I feel like my things can't get done. I feel like I'm taking a lot more time to try to, complete a piece of task, and it's already affecting my work-life balance. Now, here are some perspectives that I shared with my client when he texted me a couple of weeks ago. And these are also some of the perspectives that I also want to share with you. First things first, when you join a very new company, it's very important to give yourself some time to understand the company's culture, understand the company mindset, as well as getting to know the people around, right? And these three things are, I'd say that the most important things that you try to sort out and get clear in the first 3 to 4 weeks of starting a new role before you you want to try to impress the whole world, right? And that kind of eats into time that you are allocating to do your job. But the second thing then is, if you truly don't, I mean, if you don't fully understand the nature of the job, because it could be a new job, it could be a career change, it could be new roles and responsibilities with a new team at different priorities and so forth. So, like I said, it does take, maybe 3 to 4 weeks to really settle down within the first month and kind of like find your groove of doing things. However, when you find yourself working late in the first month or so, you need to really segregate out whether actually what is the reason that you are working late. Is it really related to the actual execution of the job, like very specific to your roles and responsibilities, or you are still in the process of learning how things are done? Now, that I do not necessarily consider, your boss is bullying you and that the company sucks. I see it as a learning curve, because at every new job, it requires a new version of you, it requires a new mindset, and potentially a new skill set as well, or rather a new application of your existing skill set, because it's not the old job, right? It's You're not like, in the past job where everything is probably at your fingertips because you have been there for some time and you have done it before. So back to this particular client, what I told him was, I think you really need to segregate out as in what exactly is the roles and responsibilities, and how are you going about executing them, and do you even understand the goal? After you have the goal, and then you have the process, right? But the other part is, how much of it is just learning about the way the company operates, learning about the corporate culture, reading up on the policies and procedures, right? Experimenting and really understanding your own learning curve that you need to put some time in. So this is actually really important to recognize, because if you don't see the distinction between these two things, it's actually very easy to feel like the new job is not what you want in terms of expectation versus reality, and quickly blame the new job as being problematic and being not exactly like I said, matching your expectation on an easy job. And I say quote unquote easy job because honestly, there is no such thing as an easy job. It's whether you are good at it or not. And if you're good at it and you're efficient and you're effective and you can achieve results with a minimum time, then of course you can enjoy work life balance, right? That's how it works. So if you truly want to be successful in your career right now, whether you are working 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years, and you want to achieve that highly coveted work life balance, I challenge you to think about, are you even clear on what exactly needs to be done? Are you clear on the corporate culture, exactly like what your boss cares about? How do you deal with people? Because I'll give a simple example, like, and you know, problems with colleagues and like problems with like stress, anxiety are things that a lot of my clients come to me as well. And as well as these are all the DMs that I receive online, right? And the common theme that I also find in a lot of people who tell me all these things, like when we actually go into a one-on-one career consultation session, a lot of times I noticed that they have skills gap. And what do I mean by skills gap? So for example, number one could be they lack clarity on exactly what the goal of that specific role and responsibility is. So when I ask questions such as like, okay, what exactly do you need to do? What is the outcome? What's the deliverable? What's the output? What does your boss expect? They can't answer any of these questions. Now, this is actually a really big problem, right? Because you can put in like 200% of effort and like completely killing off your work life balance, working on weekends, working long hours, working blah, blah, blah. But like, if you don't understand the goal, then like, how are the hours going to translate into like outcome? Think about it. Think about it. And that is why even in currently in my I only have one online program at the moment, and even in my online course right now, actually for phase one, it's all about getting clear about the corporate world. If you don't understand, if you're not kind of like going into your new job with very clear expectations, expectation versus reality, understanding people dynamics, understanding people, understanding what you need to do like within the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, then you're going to feel very frustrated, and gradually it will eat into your work life balance bit by bit. And you may wake up 3 to 6 months later on and you'll be like, oh, I don't really want this job anymore because it's not what I want. And you may not realize that even if you go and join another company, that probably is likely going to happen again, because what is not addressed is that you're just kind of jumping into a role, but you are not clear on what the goal is. Now, the second reason I find a lot of people also struggle is they um they underestimate the importance of communicating well. So let me give you an example. So normally when you first join a new company, it's it's quite natural to feel very shy, to feel like you want to try to figure it out, especially if you used to do pretty well in your previous job, right? So when you join a new company and join a new career, it's quite natural to feel like, oh, I should have everything figured out. I'm just gonna try to do it myself first. I'm not gonna ask any questions, and I'm just gonna like try to figure it out, right? Now, this then results in the lack of communication, and the lack of communication also likely would mean lack of clarity, because you're not communicating the help that you need, the understanding that you have gained, right? Because number one, your understanding that you may have gained may be wrong, right? But if you don't communicate, then like how are you going to get that clarification? And number two, because you don't communicate, then how is your boss, your seniors, or your team leaders know that you actually need help, or you need further support and to be able to help you? So like there is no win-win relationship. There is no um, support system that you should be getting because you decided that you don't want to communicate. And the result, and the unfortunate result of this entire situation, is that at the end of the day, you may end up jeopardizing and compromising again your work life balance, because you may end up spending more hours trying to figure it out because you don't want to ask for help, or you don't want to reach out and get feedback. Now, this is really down, like I said, to the fact that you probably chose not to communicate because you maybe don't want to appear stupid, and you don't want to feel like you're a failure, or you don't want somebody to judge you thinking that you don't know, right? So these are actually pretty common problems when I work with clients who are just starting a new career, just starting a new job. And that's why, after working with so many clients in similar situations, when I designed my online course, The Corporate Survivor, so I made sure that in the first module itself, in module one, I specifically cover understanding your role in the corporate world. So the corporate jigsaw puzzle, where do you sit within the department, the team, the function, what's your role? And there's this other part around what exactly do you need to do the first 30 days of your job, and how do you actually map it out to the year end, so that you are also setting yourself up for success during the performance review. Now, all these steps, may sound like things that you don't care and you want to directly dive into your job and your new work. But no, if you just dive in like that, at the end of the day, you may feel burnout very quickly in your new job, and it's actually not a sustainable thing, and you will give up quickly. And then after that, you jump to another job, not going to work out, and then you jump to another job, not going to work out. It's not because you're not putting in the hours, but what the problem is that the way that you're starting your new career, the way that you're starting your new job, like you're skipping some very important foundations, as I said, which is really getting clear on the corporate culture, understanding what your role in the team, the function and department and company is, and then really mapping out a 30, 60, 90, and the 369 12-month plan leading to your performance review. So there's a bit of a roadmap that obviously I teach to my students in my online course at www.thecorporatesurvivor.co. But if you want to do it yourself, then like you should really be aware that these are some of the things that are really, really important, because if you skip some of the sequences, what is then going to happen is that you are going to put in a lot of hours, you're not going to be effective, going to take so much time to do something because you don't understand the goal and you don't have good relationships with people, and therefore you're not going to get the help, and therefore that around leads to more time, and leading to more time will completely kill your efficiency. Then if you're taking so much time, you probably miss some deadlines, you probably start feeling stressed, and it will also affect the accuracy and the quality of the work you deliver, and ultimately the effectiveness also goes down as well. So there are multiple implications. Of course, the worst being that it creates a lot of stress, anxiety, and nervousness on your end, which is also not good, right? And then you feel like every Monday is so painful. You don't want to get back to work, or even every single day is not a good thing also. So just really think about what I say here, and really think about work life balance holistically. Now, there's this one other question a lot of people also ask me, is that, Mei-Ping, do you think work-life balance is achievable if I want to pursue a very high-paying job that is very challenging? Now, that's actually a really good question. But what I'll say is this: sometimes, if you go for a very high-paying job, or a job that maybe is a bit above your pay rank. So what I mean is, for example, maybe you're at a manager level right now, that but then you got a great opportunity to maybe join as a senior manager, right, in a new company. Now, this is actually really, really challenging, and it obviously is really good for you because you're getting more money, you're getting a better job title. There are more doors opening for you. But you should first recognize that what is your own situation, because I did work with a client very similar in this situation at the beginning of my career coaching journey, and within the first 4 months she actually crashed and burned because she overestimated her ability, and she was just doing whatever that she was doing, putting in a lot of hours, but then not getting results. But the problem is because she actually did not set the expectation correctly within her first 1 to 2 months. So she just put in the hours and hope, really pray that everything will work out, which obviously it did not. So I really challenge you to think about the longer term around work life balance. And I think that if you are putting yourself up for a challenge and going into a booming industry, an emerging industry, a highly challenging industry that obviously you're already getting paid well, then work life balance may be something that you need to redefine what that means. You need to retag that in terms of the goals that you have, and what is more important right now. So we're not saying that you're going to like work 24/7 like for the next 10, 20 years, because that's not sustainable. But what does work life balance mean to you within that period of time? Is this something that you can do? You can work a little bit more longer hours and feel comfortable in exchange for greater opportunities. Are you okay to do that? If you're okay to do that, then it probably open up more doors as well. So a lot of it is, I think you need to personalize it to your own situation. But what is very, very important is that regardless of whatever your career goal is, right, whether you want to climb up the corporate career ladder from fresh graduate to executive manager, director, or even preparing for C-suite, at every single career level, it's a new job, it's a new expectation, it's a new career level. And therefore, you need to redefine what work looks like, what the priorities look like, and what does work-life balance and success mean to you at that particular level. Because if you're telling me that I want to be a senior director preparing for C-suite, but I want zero stress because I don't care, I just want to work like an executive. Now that there's really a kind of a big problem there, right? So I think it's always worthwhile to kind of like look at it holistically in line with your own goals, and just to see how much you are willing to balance out in terms of like what's most important, and what are you willing to give in order to get what you want. So think about it. And just a very final point here, for some people who also have been asking me, oh, Mei Ping, at some point, I want to run my own business. I want to go and do my side hustle. Do you think it's actually important to find work-life balance and be more efficient and effective? Now, I don't usually talk about, business, entrepreneurship, and side hustles on my channels, because 99% of people who listen to my podcast, watch my videos, read my content are working in 9 to 5 corporate job in the corporate world, which is really my top priority in terms of the value that I think I can bring. However, I will want to answer this very quickly as well. So if you are a person who wants to transition into entrepreneurship or something else, learning how to become efficient and effective is very, very, very important. So goal setting, so I repeat that, goal setting, learning how to communicate with people, learning how to be efficient and effective and run things using a process so that you can actually have work-life balance where everything is efficient, effective, you finish on time or as on time as possible, actually is very, very important before you transition to any side hustle, any run your own business, be your own CEO. Because that is actually the core soft skills, and what I call the top 12 soft skills for career success, that is very important. So if you want to move somewhere else, you can move up the corporate career ladder. You can choose to do something outside of the corporate world, maybe in the much longer term in your career. But you should really be clear what are your skills gap and try to fix them now. And even up to today, I do have probably about 5% of my students who sign up to my online course, www.thecorporatesurvivor.co. About 5% of them tell me that probably in the future, they might want to start their own company. They may want to transition to a different career field that is, outside of the corporate world, and that's fine. But they wanted to make sure that they learn what it takes to deal with people, to manage workload, to really learn how to be as efficient and effective as possible so that they can find the space within their 9 to 5 job, meaning that they can finish their work on time. So they learn how to be efficient and effective during their 9 to 5 so that they can finish on time. And then after that, they can work on their own self improvement on whatever other passions that they want to pursue. Now, if you are not efficient and effective, you are not going to have work life balance. And therefore, you will also not have any more space to pursue your passions. So I think that's kind of like how everything sort of ties in together. And I really challenge you to think whether you are a person who is working really long hours right now. I challenge you to think whether are you actually utilizing the right frameworks, methods, and strategies and steps to become more efficient and effective, or maybe you don't know how. The second thing I challenge you to think about is how important is your goal, and are you willing to sacrifice a little bit of your work-life balance to actually achieve the the next step in your career and get yourself more opportunities which may require an extra bit more effort on your end in your corporate job. As well as number three, if you are looking to transition into other passions and something else, are you really, really ready to make sure that by the time you move out, you have actually set yourself up for success? You are great with goal setting, you can communicate well, with critical thinking, you have built relationships with people, you're very productive, you're very organized. All these things that sound so simple, but it's actually really, really, really important. And how you can actually get to that point is really maximizing the time that you, while you're still in the corporate world, where you're still in your 9 to 5 job, to upskill whatever that you need. And of course, being able to upskill those and completing your work on time because you're efficient, effective, and gets results, then gives you the other half of your day to go and pursue whatever passions that you want, if you get what I'm saying. Okay. So thank you so much for listening so far, and especially if you are watching live. So let me know in the chat box, do you think that you have work-life balance? And if you don't think that you have work-life balance, tell me why. Tell me what do you think is the biggest blockage towards you having work-life balance. Then I really like to hear from you because I think that work-life balance differs from one person to the other. It's just like the definition of success, right? Like I can't define success for you, but I can sit down and through a coaching session help you find a little bit more clarity in terms of like direction as to what you want and maybe some gaps that you may have and really laying out a roadmap on some of the options that you should consider as you move to that position. But like I said, it's just like the definition of success. I can't tell you or I can't dictate to you what success means to you, and similar to work life balance as well, because what is considered work life balance to one person may not actually be the same definition for the other person. So I encourage you to do some self reflection, and particularly, and I think that if you want to learn how to be successful in your new corporate job, if you're just starting a new career, you want to boost your journey a little bit more, or you have already started in your new career for the past few months, but you feel like something's just not clicking, it's probably because at the beginning of joining the company, you probably did not set expectations right. And I really highly encourage you to think about it as to how you can kind of set the foundations in place so that you can, yeah, really set yourself up for success in your new role. So if you want to find out a little bit more, you can definitely check out my online course with a bonus coaching at www.thecorporatesurvivor.co. So in this link, there is about a 5-minute video where I'm going to walk through with you the step by step and the 3-phase process to help you to really set yourself up for success in your new career in the corporate world. So as long as you're a 9 to 5 working professional, I think you'll find it a lot of value. So yeah, make sure you can check it out at www.thecorporatesurvivor.co. So thank you everybody for joining live. And if you are new here, hi, my name is Mei Ping. I'm a professional career coach and formerly corporate leader with tons of leadership experiences in global multinational companies. I've worked with tons of big brands and worked with people from over 43 countries as well. So welcome to my 30-day careers live stream where I discuss very interesting career topics, mostly inspired by the career advice, good or bad, that I see on social media, as well as all the DM messages that I get from my connections, my clients, some of the very interesting perspectives that I hope can inspire you and give you a little bit more of an idea of what other people are going through, and hopefully you can also apply that in your own career. So if you want to join me live for the next days to the end of March, at the end of May, make sure that you dial in at 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock Malaysia, Singapore, and Hong Kong time. So I will go live at 9 o'clock Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong time for every single day in May. So if you are enjoying the live streams or you want to catch up on the earlier versions of the live streams, make sure that you check it out on YouTube or Spotify. I've really talked about some very interesting stuff, such as interview mistakes, how do you find inner motivation on Mondays, how do you should you work hard or work smart, how do you make career choices that not just fit yourself but for your family as well. There are a lot of very interesting topics that I have started since the 1st of May. So if you want to check out the replays, make sure that you check it out on YouTube or Spotify. So if you are watching live right now, definitely drop a comment and let me know that you are watching live, and let's do it. All right. So, hi, Oliver. Good to see you here. Hi, Marco. Good to see you again as well. All right. So let's have a look if there are any interesting questions today. And I really want to stick to topic as much as possible because I think that work-life balance is one of those things that can lead anywhere. But I really want to use today's live stream to help you really reflect on how you can set yourself up for success in your new job by learning how to be clear on goals, be efficient, effective, getting results so that you do not have to sacrifice your personal time, your family time, maybe time with your children to because you're inefficient and therefore you are like wasting time at the workplace, which is really not the most productive thing as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Hi, Mustafa. Good to see you here as well. All right. So if you have any quick questions, do drop it in the chat box. I'll probably answer a few for today's live stream. And if you find some value in whatever that I've just shared so far, make sure that you also let me know in the chat box as well. Hi, Jetran. Good to see you here as well. Hope you found it very helpful. All right, so let's have a look at some of the questions. All right, question. I feel demotivated in my job search. I feel even though I get an interview, it doesn't mean I will get the job offer. Even if I get the job offer, I don't know whether I can last long in the company. Now, all these are very valid concerns, but I think that if you are currently in the job search process, then you should actually really focus on getting the job instead of actually worrying whether you can do well or not. Because if you are starting your job search thinking that you are already going to fail, then there is actually no point applying, right? Because if you don't believe in yourself, then how is the company going to believe in you? So if you are in a similar situation, I would actually highly recommend my free training at www.growyourcorporatecareer.com. So in this training, I actually walk through the 6-step framework, the 6-step strategy to plan and grow your career step by step. And step one, we actually go into a lot more detail on career interest and direction. And in step one, specifically in this training at www.growyourcorporatecareer.com, I actually talked about the common mindset blocks that every job seeker has, and some of the solutions that you can apply to overcome them. And step one, career direction and really overcoming those job seeker mindset blocks is really going to be important, because if you are progressing along the job search journey, into step two, resume, LinkedIn, interviews, all those things. But your step one, you're still having a lot of mindset blocks. Basically, what is going to happen is that you are going to self sabotage yourself. So, specific to that particular question, what I would suggest is um, you need to really reflect on your own value. What do you think you actually have to offer? And do some self reflection, self assessment on the skills gap that you have, and really take action to fix it. Because at the end of the day, you can worry about it nonstop, but it's just like not going to solve a problem. And I'll share with you another client example over here. So recently, I had a client, I managed to help her get a new job overseas. So she actually just started a couple of weeks ago. And before she moved overseas and started her new job officially, there was a period of break time where she was serving her notice and just like kind of working around the logistics to move overseas. And in our previous sessions, we have already, even at the job search stage, she had already told me that she felt like an imposter. She felt like she's not as good in terms of like some skills, like she's not great at communicating people, and sometimes her work is disorganized because she's a people pleaser, and some of the things she's at least already aware. So what I actually recommended to her is that let's just focus on getting the job first. But knowing that at the back of your mind that you do know that you have this problem, then I actually recommended that once she landed the job and she already signed the job offer, I actually recommended that she get started with my online course first, so that during the time where she is serving her notice, during the time where she's waiting for all the admin and logistics to sort out, she is in the process of upgrading her skills. She is in the process of improving her goal setting skills, her communication skills, people dynamics, productivity. She's already starting to learn the step by step and really starting to apply, even though she was serving notice. So take that as a training ground, so that in the new role, it's not going to happen again. Like the problems can be eliminated as much as possible. And when you start in your new role, you're starting it with confidence. Because for this particular course, step one is getting clear on the corporate role. And then step two, we learn how to get confident by building skills. So my career motto is, and if you've joined my free training before, I'm sure that you have heard me saying that confidence comes from competence. So, I am a and the way I coach and the way I teach my course and the way I teach my students who are 9 to 5 working professionals is that instead of like dwelling, let's then talk about what is stopping you and how can we overcome it, how can we apply the strategies and methods, and then move forward step by step. Even you can't you can't apply all the strategies now, you can't apply all the steps now, but can you take the first step, and then the second step, and then the next step, next step. I don't think like worrying actually is going to resolve the problem, but I mean, that's my opinion. So if you want to learn more about the step by step and also deep dive into the job seeker mindset blocks, you can join the free training. If you want to upskill to really build a solid foundation, then you can check out the course at www.thecorporatesurvivor.co. All right, so let me have a look at if there are any other interesting comments. All right. All right. So just now I was talking about the fact that you need to first clarify the work that needs to be done, so that you can be more efficient and effective and not spend as many hours as possible to try to achieve an outcome that is maybe not correct. So there's a comment here saying that, but some colleagues, supervisors, and bosses do not like people asking a lot of questions. Now, that is a very valid comment, but I will also say that like the quality of your questions also matter. So it's not for the sake of like just asking for the sake of asking, but then the question is like, how much logic have you gone through before you ask the question? And how you ask the question also matters, right? Because at the end of the day, um, unless you are like even it doesn't even happen to fresh graduates nowadays, right? Hand holding, spoon feeding is something that a lot of like seniors, a lot of managers may not actually have the time to do. So what I would highly recommend is that you learn how to identify and be clear on what are the roles and responsibilities at your job, and learn how to communicate with people and learn how to ask questions, learn how to express yourself. Now, all these sound um, kind of a lot, and it's going to be challenging for me to try to explain it here because I actually kind of teach it step by step in my course. But the tip that I can give you here is yeah, the quality of your questions matter. So really focus on the quality of what you're asking. And I think that will really work. That will really help a lot. All right. All right. So let me answer another quick question around side hustles. And as I mentioned, most of my connections and clients are working in the 9 to 5 corporate world, but I do understand that it's also helpful sometimes to think a little bit further what you want in your career in the long term, and then kind of like build your skills along the way. So I'm looking at the comment here saying that I once had a graphic design side hustle on top of my full-time job, and during that time, I struggled immensely with working quickly and efficiently to free up some free time. Yeah, so this is specifically what I talked about, right? If you are already struggling and you don't really have a very clear process to become efficient, effective, really clear and organized in the way that you're handling your full-time job, this side hustle is really going to destroy you, because if you can't even handle one thing, now you're going to layer one other more challenging thing on top of it. It's going to be very difficult. So all this is not like magic that you can do it or not do it, but it's really down to skill set. It's down to skill set. So I think that for any one of you listening and you want to have like side hustles, and then when I say side hustles, I say it very loosely in the sense of side hustle where you are making money, or you may also have like those sort of side hustles where maybe you are involved in like non-profit organizations, right? NGOs, which also does take up quite a bit of time as well. So if you really want to be committed to your passions, whether the passion is a side hustle that pays, or a passion that is more more from like really giving back to the society, then there's also a lot of benefit of learning how to become efficient, effective, organized, and really have that work-life balance, and really be able to carve out and complete all your deliverables and get results at your 9 to 5 job that's actually paying you, so that you now have extra time and bandwidth to then focus on whatever your passions are. Okay, so I hope that you have enjoyed today's live stream. I know that it's a bit ironic to talk about work-life balance on a Monday, but I think that it's a very important topic for us to talk about consistently, and really for you to reflect on potentially, is there a clarity issue that you're facing, or is it a skills issue that is really causing you to not be able to handle a lot of things and end up working long hours? So with that, I wish you all the best in your career, and I'll see you in our live stream tomorrow. Bye.